welcome to Choosing Acceptance podcast with your host, Marie Mason. I am here to share some success stories and tips on how to overcome your learning disability so that you can turn your talents into a career. And I love to inspire children and parents and teachers with learning disabilities to go beyond their limits so that they can make a bigger impact in the world. Schedule a call to become a guest on our show at calendly.com/Marie V. Mason. Hi, everyone, and welcome to the Choosing Acceptance podcast with your host, Marie Mason. I'm excited to have our video editor and co-host, Ebuka, Jestoc, join us on this week's episode. And our podcast is all about helping adults that are college age and above to embrace their learning disabilities. We help adults with learning disabilities or difficulties to go beyond their limits and make a bigger impact in the world. And we provide resources to help you overcome your learning disability and turn your talents into a career, helping you to define who you are. Today's topic is all about the 5 tips of interacting with people with Aspergers Syndrome effectively. Because one of the things I learned when I was teaching, and that was taught for 20 years, but in this one particular classroom, I had a child who was probably the age of 3, had Aspergers syndrome. And I wanted to address this topic because you can communicate with people at all different levels. And they had a form of Asperger's that was a little more difficult than the regular autism. So their communication skills were a lot less. So one of the, especially at 3, they're already having trouble communicating at that age anyway. For some folks with more difficulties, you might have more difficulties at that age than others, depending on what their difficulties are. So needless to say, I had children always come up to me saying, Miss Mason, that's what they used to call me, was my last name. How can we play with our friend? Because they don't know how to communicate with her and how to interact with her. So I taught them super simple tips on how to communicate with them, because it's hard to play with a friend when you don't know how to play with them, especially when they have special needs or have learning disabilities and learning difficulties. And we've talked about a particular learning disability in the last few episodes, and I wanted to share how you can communicate with people with this. But first, on this top tips of the week, we're going to discuss a guide of resources for Aspergers syndrome, and then we'll jump into our main topic. Various resources are available for individuals with Aspergers syndrome or anything with autism related to autism, and including organizations like Autism Speaks and Autism Society, and local support groups, therapies, and applied behavior analysis, or ABA for short, and social skills training, educational resources such as individualized education plans, otherwise known as IEPs. Some of your children may already have those in school, plus 504 plans, books and online resources, and countless of medical professionals like pediatricians and psychologists, and government supports in some countries, and communication organizations offering tailored social media and recreational activities. Plus, there's dozens of articles that you can research. There's dozens of podcasts that are also tailored to learning difficulties, including autism and Asperger's. And if not, we would love to be one of those podcasts that can help you understand learning difficulties of all different types. So here are my top 3 resources, some of which I've already just named. Autism organizations such as Autism Speaks, Autism Society, and Asperger's Autism's Network provide support, information, advocacy, and resources for individuals and families affected by Asperger's syndrome. It's always good to know what they do. The next one is local support. Support groups that offer different individuals with Asperger's syndrome opportunities to connect and share experiences and offer support to each other. It's always important to have a group that you connect with and get you. Okay, you want to build with someone who can relate to you, someone you can relate to them, and they align with your values and beliefs, etc. Therapies like Allied Behavior Analysis, or ABA for short, and social skills training, as well as occupational therapy in some cases. And for sensory challenges, it can also be beneficial for individuals with Asperger's syndrome. So it is important that to be able to reach out to these organizations for specific information and resources. And before we continue with our topic today, here is a word from our sponsors, one of our sponsors, and we will be right back after this commercial break. I'm Marie Mason. I am a business strategy coach. I run a mastermind group for online business owners where our members get to network, collaborate, and learn from one another in an exclusive environment. Our Business Academy takes a modern approach to business solutions by incorporating the latest technology and strategies to ensure that you hire a qualified team to handle your workflows. Hi, Ebuka. I'm good. How are you doing?
I'm good, thank you. How about you?
I'm doing well, too. So, great question. Today we're going to be discussing tips for creating a supportive environment for individuals with Asperger's syndrome. It's a condition that affects social interaction, communication, and behavior. It's very hard for them to make friends easily, basically.
That sounds like an important topic. How can I adapt my communication style to effectively engage with someone with Asperger's syndrome?
Absolutely. Good question. And yes, it is an important topic. The first tip is to use clear and concise language when engaging or talking with somebody with Asperger's. It's really important to speak at a moderate pace and give them time to process that information.
Great information. How can you identify the subjects that people are passionate about?
Oh, I love that question because I get that asked a lot. Here's what I learned as a former preschool teacher. Being patient and being willing to repeat or rephrase information if necessary can make a big difference. It helps individuals with Asperger's fully understand and engage in conversations.
That is good to know that we are able to engage in conversations with them. How can I create a comfortable and sensory-friendly environment for them?
Another good question. Here's another good tip. Take the time to learn about their interests and passions, because believe it or not, they have them too. And when we engage in conversations and related to their interests, it really shows that we generally care and value their thoughts and opinions. I'll give you an example. My son is normal. He's talented and gifted, so he's kind of the opposite spectrum. However, he's kind of shy. So, at least especially when he doesn't know somebody. So, I have learned for teachers who are getting to know him at the beginning of the year, I found it helpful to tell the teachers, His favorite topics to talk about are blank and blank. And once you get him talking, he will just keep on going until you ask him to stop. So I always encouraged them to sit there and talk about his favorite topics when he was in elementary school and even in middle school to some degree. Those were always Pokemon and video games, right? Those were his two common interests that really would trigger conversations. So even to this day, we generally as a family, tried to get him to open up and talk about his video game designing techniques and stuff like that. However, sometimes we have to put the table on that after a while because he knows all about game design and coding and things that are well beyond what my husband and I can understand. And we need time to process that information. And sometimes kids just don't get the fact that adults might not be able to process things quickly enough. So especially when the kids are at the more genius level and the adults are smart, but they're not at the same, high level of, with understanding of what they're talking about. So if you have kids that are smart and maybe have a learning difficulty, or maybe they're just smart and talented and gifted, then give them some grace and some time and a safe place to talk about it, but also have to balance that time frame in which how much time they spend on a topic, because it is so easy for them to ramble. And then it could ramble and on, and then you get to the point where it's like information overload for the people that are receiving it, and they might not have time to process it. So I always encourage you guys to set your boundaries with the kids and say, look, we can process only so much information at one time. Let's take some time where we can focus on it. Sometimes you just have to take a break from the topic and come back to it, and that's okay. But give your kids the safe space to do that and not think of it as a punishment, because you want them to be able to be willing to be open up to you and share their ideas, because they might be very excited about talking about something, and you want to encourage that conversation. But again, sometimes you have to set your boundaries and help them to guide them in that process.
That's a great point. Understanding and respecting their interests can help establish a strong connection and make them feel included. What social cues or nonverbal communication should I be mindful of to avoid miscommunication or misunderstanding?
Oh, I agree. It is important to create a supportive environment where their passions are acknowledged and appreciated, which is what I was trying to share earlier in that last message. And creating a sensory-friendly environment is also crucial, especially with people with Asperger's or in that spectrum. And by minimizing unnecessary noise, bright lights, or strong smells, we can ensure that individuals with Asperger's can feel comfortable and not overwhelmed.
I did not realize that your environment can affect how people can affect their senses. Good to know that information. Next question before we start to wrap up this episode. What support or accommodations can I offer to help them feel included and valued in group activities?
Oh, most definitely. In addition, sensory overload can be challenging for individuals with Asperger's, so creating a calm, predictable environment can really help them feel safe and supported. It's really important to be aware of their sensitivities and preferences and accommodate them whenever possible. Lastly, we should always practice empathy and understanding and recognizing that individuals with Asperger's may have different ways of communicating and not processing information, and can help us be more patient and supportive. I'll give you an example. There's some people on my team that have different learning difficulties in more of the autism part of the spectrum, and not necessarily, I don't know if they have Asperger's, but they definitely have autism. And some of the stuff we are talking about would be very helpful for them, as well as anyone else that you might know that has this particular difficulty.
Yes, showing empathy and understanding can help individuals with Asperger's feel accepted and valued. It can make a big difference in their overall well-being and quality of life. Thank you for these valuable insights into communicating with people who have Asperger's syndrome.
Well, I hope our conversation can help create a more supportive environment for individuals so that they can learn to communicate better with people who have Asperger's syndrome.
Definitely, I learned a lot. Next question. What is the main takeaway from today's topic that you want the audience to apply now?
Oh, I love this question. The main takeaway from today's topic is to be patient, understanding, and accommodating when interacting with people with Asperger's syndrome. By adapting your communication style, showing interest in their passions, creating a sensory-friendly environment, and offering support and exclusivity, you can really effectively engage with individuals with Asperger's and help them to feel valued and included. In fact, the team member that I am sharing about, without getting into details of their information, I don't want to share that publicly. However, I did want to sit there and say, one of the things they always say is, because I offer a supportive, friendly environment, and I help them to feel valued and included, makes it for a more friendlier work environment for people with autism or even Asperger's syndrome. So I just wanted to share that if you can create that kind of atmosphere of being supportive and helping them to feel valued, it makes a big difference. And you know what? If you have a supportive atmosphere at your work, and that you make people feel valued and included in work, and it doesn't matter if they're having a disability or not, you will be surprised at how much more work you would get out of an employee or a team member. Because when they feel valued, they are going to feel more loyal to you, and they will be willing to work more effectively and more willing to work with you when things go crazy in your life. So just as an example, I have people on my team who are more than willing to work with me, and regardless of my circumstances, and their loyalty is always rewarded, but at the same time, they're also valued and included in everything that I do, including updates in my personal life as far as things that are necessary for them to know. Like, I'm in the process of moving. So, Ebuka, you've been updated about that, and so have other members of my team. When I have a life change going on in my life, like a death in the family, I let my team know and be aware this is some things that I might be sensitive on. I might need some support in this outside of work. So I am grateful that you guys do support me, and that's important for people with Asperger's syndrome too, as well as autism or any other learning difficulty. And it goes a long way. When you give out that kind of support, you will get that back tenfold from your team as well.
Do you have any gifts for our audience today?
I do have some great gifts for our audience. First, join us for our free Choosing Acceptance Facebook group. We review our latest podcast on the Choosing Acceptance podcast on Facebook. Sorry, I am trying to slow down my words because when I speak fast, I trip over myself when I speak. So I'm trying to slow myself down so you can understand me. Then keep in mind, I'm not trying to be perfect at every podcast. So if I trip over my words, just skip over the part that I made a mistake on and move forward, because I did correct myself. And then my second offer is, if you're doing any searching and finding supportive communities mixed with teachers, professionals, and parents with learning disabilities, I would really encourage you to join a private Facebook group for additional support and resources. And you can join us at Bubble Bear's Books membership site. That's for people that are specifically getting help with learning difficulties. If you're wanting to join a free networking group, we also have a Facebook group that is starting this month. In fact, this week, we're starting on tonight. at 8 o'clock Eastern, from 8 to 9. We will be doing once a month. I think it's like third or the fourth Tuesday of the month. We are going to be doing a monthly networking mastermind call on Zoom, and you can go to Trailblazers Mastermind on Facebook and go and get that information from that particular group. Then lastly, ever wonder what it'd be like to see the world through a dyslexic child's eyes? I am the author of Bubble Bear's Special Problem. My name is Marie Mason, and this book destigmatizes learning disabilities in order to provide a better understanding of their learning process. It really helps people to overcome the fear of learning disabilities so they can contribute their talents by bringing awareness of how children should be treated in and out of the classroom. It also helps us to have more understanding and help our people with dyslexia or learning difficulties embrace their learning difficulties so that they realize it's not a negative word, it can be turned into a positive word. And I believe that in focusing on the positive. So go check it out. We're on Amazon. We are also on Barnes & Noble websites, also, and Walmart picked it up as well. So please go check us out on either one of those websites. You'll be grateful to read about it. It's a short, easy reader, so it won't take it's like less than 40 pages. So really quick, easy read. And Ebuka, can you close out the show?
Thank you for tuning in to the Choosing Acceptance podcast. Today we discussed 5 tips for effectively interacting with individuals with Aspergers Syndrome. We explored ways to make them feel valued, adjust our communication style, show interest in their passions, create a sensory-friendly environment, and provide support and accommodations. Don't forget to check out our offers on YouTube and Marie's book on Amazon. Join us next time as we tackle learning disabilities and achieving success. Like, share, subscribe, and follow us on YouTube and Facebook. Until then, this is Ebuka Jestoc and Marie Mason signing off. Have a great weekend, everyone.
Y'all have a great week now. Bye, everyone. My name is Marie Mason. I am the author of Bubble Bear Special Problem. And this book destigmatizes learning disabilities in order to provide a better understanding of their learning disability process. It helps children to overcome their fear of learning disabilities so that they can contribute their talents by bringing awareness to how children should be treated in and out of the classroom. If you would like more to learn about this book, then go to Amazon.com and check out Bubble Bear's Special Problem by Marie Mason.